The late October wind swept through Boston Common, carrying with it the scent of fallen leaves and the distant aroma of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor. 17-year-old Emma Harrison sat motionless in her wheelchair beneath an old oak tree, watching the world move around her while she remained still. The park was alive with joggers, families, and couples walking hand in hand, but Emma felt invisible, as though she existed in a separate dimension from everyone else. Today was her birthday, October 28th, a day that used to mean celebration, laughter, and her father taking the afternoon off from Massachusetts General Hospital to spend time with her. But that was before the accident 2 years ago, before the drunk driver ran the red light on Commonwealth Avenue, before her spine was severed at T6, before her mother left, unable to cope with the new reality of their lives. Emma pulled her navy blue jacket tighter around her shoulders. The wheelchair-accessible path stretched before her, but she had no desire to move. Her phone sat silent in her lap. Her father, Dr. James Harrison, one of the most respected neurosurgeons on the East Coast, had left for the hospital at 5 that morning. He'd mumbled something about a critical surgery, barely making eye contact. He hadn't mentioned her birthday. She wondered if he even remembered. The physical therapy session she'd attended that morning had been grueling. Her therapist, Karen, had pushed her through exercises designed to strengthen her upper body and maintain what little sensation remained in her lower abdomen. "You're making progress, Emma," Karen had said with forced cheerfulness. But progress toward what? Emma thought bitterly. She would never walk again, never dance, never feel the ground beneath her feet. A group of teenagers passed by, laughing and shoving each other playfully. Emma recognized 2 of them from her former high school, Arlington High. She'd withdrawn after the accident, unable to face the pitying looks and the suddenly awkward conversations with former friends who no longer knew how to act around her. Now she was homeschooled, isolated in the Harrison's Beacon Hill townhouse, with only her father's housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, for company during the long days. Emma watched as a mother knelt down to tie her young daughter's shoelace and felt the familiar ache in her chest. Her own mother, Catherine, had been a marketing executive, always impeccably dressed, always in control. But after the accident, Catherine had crumbled. The hospital visits, the rehabilitation center, the modifications needed for their home. It had all been too much. 6 months after Emma came home in the wheelchair, Catherine had filed for divorce. "I can't do this, James," Emma had overheard her mother say. "Every time I look at her, I see what she's lost. I can't be strong enough for both of you." Her father had tried. God knows he'd tried. But Dr. James Harrison was a man who fixed things, who operated on the most delicate structures in the human body with steady hands and unwavering confidence. He couldn't fix his daughter, and Emma could see how that failure ate at him. So he did what he knew best. He threw himself into his work, performing surgery after surgery, teaching residents, conducting research. Anything to avoid coming home to the daughter he couldn't heal. The sun was beginning its descent, casting long shadows across the park. Emma shivered, not entirely from the cold. She thought about texting her father, but decided against it. What would she say? "Hey, Dad, remember me. It's my birthday." The thought made her feel pathetic. She maneuvered her wheelchair toward the park's main path, her arms strong from months of propelling herself around. At least she had that. At least she wasn't completely dependent. Small victories, Karen called them. Emma called them survival. As she made her way toward Charles Street, where Mrs. Chen would be waiting to drive her home, Emma noticed a small girl, maybe 6 years old, sitting alone on a bench near the playground. The child wore a pink jacket and had tears streaming down her round cheeks. Emma paused, something stirring in her chest. She knew what loneliness looked like. Before she could second-guess herself, Emma wheeled closer. "Hey there, are you okay?" The little girl looked up, her brown eyes wide with fear. "I can't find my daddy," she whispered. Emma felt her heart constrict. She looked around the park, which was growing dimmer as the evening approached. "What's your name, sweetie?" "Lily." "Lily Martinez?" "Okay, Lily, I'm Emma. We're going to find your daddy, I promise." Emma pulled out her phone, preparing to call park security, when she heard a man's voice, breathless and panicked. "Lily! Lily!" A man in his mid-30s came running toward them, his dark hair disheveled, his face etched with worry. He wore the navy blue uniform of an EMT with Boston EMS emblazoned across his chest. When he saw his daughter, relief flooded his features. "Daddy!" Lily jumped from the bench and ran into his arms. The man scooped her up, holding her tight, his eyes closed. "Baby, you scared me half to death. I told you to stay by the swings." He looked at Emma, and she saw gratitude in his dark brown eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much for staying with her." Emma shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "It's okay." She was pretty brave. The man set Lily down, but kept hold of her hand. He studied Emma for a moment, and she braced herself for the usual reaction, the awkward recognition of her wheelchair, the uncomfortable shift in demeanor. But it didn't come. Instead, he smiled warmly. "I'm Marcus Martinez. We owe you one." He glanced at his daughter. "Say thank you to the nice lady, Lily." "Thank you," Lily said softly, then added, "You have a cool chair." Emma couldn't help but smile. Children were always more honest, more direct. "Thanks. It gets me where I need to go." Marcus glanced at his watch and grimaced. "We should get going. Early shift tomorrow." He looked at Emma again, his expression thoughtful. "Are you here alone? Do you need help getting anywhere?" "I'm fine," Emma said automatically. "My ride is waiting." Marcus nodded but didn't move. There was something in his gaze, a recognition of something unspoken. Finally he said, "Well, thank you again. Really, you might have just saved my entire evening." He paused. "Happy birthday, by the way." Emma froze. "What?" Marcus pointed to the small birthday badge still pinned to her jacket from the morning's therapy session, a cheerful "birthday girl" sticker that Karen had insisted she wear. Emma had forgotten all about it. "Oh, yeah, thanks," Emma mumbled, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. 17? Marcus guessed, reading the number on the badge. Emma nodded. "Well, happy 17th, Emma. I hope the rest of your day is better than the beginning seemed to be." As Marcus and Lily walked away, Lily turned back and waved enthusiastically. Emma waved back, feeling something shift inside her chest. A stranger, someone who didn't know her, didn't pity her, didn't define her by her wheelchair, had noticed her birthday when her own father hadn't. Emma wheeled toward Charles Street, where Mrs. Chen's car was indeed waiting. As she approached, her phone buzzed. A text from her father. "Emergency surgery ran late. Won't be home until after midnight. Mrs. Chen left dinner in the fridge. Sorry, Em." No mention of her birthday. Emma stared at the message for a long moment, then locked her phone. As Mrs. Chen helped her into the car and loaded her wheelchair into the back, Emma found herself thinking not about her father's absence, but about a little girl in a pink jacket and her worried father who'd thanked her with genuine warmth. Maybe birthdays didn't have to be about cake and presents. Maybe they could be about the small moments that reminded you that you still mattered to someone, even if that someone was a stranger in a park. 3 days passed before Emma returned to Boston Common. The autumn weather had turned crisp and clear, the kind of New England October day that made the city look like a postcard, with brilliant red and gold leaves framing the brownstones along Beacon Street. Emma had convinced Mrs. Chen to drop her off for a few hours, promising to call when she was ready to be picked up. The truth was, Emma needed to escape the oppressive silence of the townhouse. Her father had finally remembered her birthday, 2 days late, and had left an expensive watch on her dresser with a note, "Sorry I missed it. Surgery went well. We saved a life. Love, Dad." Emma had stared at the Cartier watch, probably worth more than most people's monthly rent, and felt nothing but emptiness. He'd sent Mrs. Chen to buy it. He hadn't even chosen it himself. Now, sitting near the same oak tree where she'd spent her birthday, Emma found herself scanning the park for a little girl in a pink jacket. She felt foolish. Boston was a city of nearly 700,000 people. What were the odds of running into the same family again? "Well, if it isn't the birthday girl!" Emma's head snapped up. Marcus Martinez stood there in civilian clothes, jeans and a Red Sox hoodie, with Lily bouncing excitedly beside him. "It's the wheelchair lady!" Lily exclaimed, then clapped her hand over her mouth. "I mean the nice lady, Emma!" Marcus winced. "Lily, we talked about this, remember?" But Emma was laughing. "It's okay. I am the wheelchair lady. That's not a bad thing." Marcus looked relieved. "We've been coming to this park almost every day for the past week, and Lily kept asking if we'd see you again. I told her Boston was a big place, but—" He shrugged, smiling. "I guess it's not that big after all." "Can I sit with you?" Lily asked, already climbing onto the bench beside Emma's wheelchair. "Sure," Emma said, surprised by how much she'd missed the child's unfiltered enthusiasm. Marcus sat down on Lily's other side, stretching his long legs out in front of him. "Day off," he explained. "Lily's been with my mom all week while I worked back-to-back shifts, so I promised her a park day. We're going to the public garden after this to ride the swan boats before they close them up for the season." "I love the swan boats," Lily said. "Have you been on them, Emma?" Emma nodded. "A long time ago. Before—" She trailed off, unsure how to finish the sentence. "Before your accident?" Lily asked innocently. "Lily," Marcus said gently. "It's really okay," Emma said, and meant it. There was something liberating about Lily's directness. No dancing around the subject, no uncomfortable euphemisms. "Yes, before my accident, I was 15. A drunk driver hit our car." Lily's eyes widened. "That's very sad. Did it hurt a lot?" "Lily, that's enough," Marcus said more firmly. But Emma found herself answering. "Yeah, it did, and sometimes it still does. Not my legs. I can't feel those anymore. But other parts hurt. Phantom pains, my doctors call them. My brain remembers what it felt like to walk, so sometimes it creates pain that isn't really there." Lily processed this information with the seriousness only a 6-year-old could muster. "My mom died when I was 4, she said matter-of-factly. "I don't remember her much, but Daddy says she loved me a lot. Sometimes I have phantom memories. I think I remember her, but Daddy says it might just be from photos." Emma felt her throat tighten. She glanced at Marcus, who was staring at his hands, his jaw tight. "I'm sorry about your mom," Emma said softly. Lily shrugged. "It's okay. It's just me and Daddy now, and Abuela, that's my grandma. She's from Puerto Rico and makes the best arroz con gandules. That's rice with pigeon peas," she explained importantly. Marcus cleared his throat. "All right, chatterbox. How about you go play on the swings for a few minutes while Emma and I talk?" "Okay." Lily hopped down from the bench and ran toward the playground, her dark curls bouncing. An awkward silence settled between them. Emma wasn't sure what to say. Marcus spoke first. "I'm sorry about that. She doesn't have many filters yet. Her therapist says it's actually healthy that she talks about her mother so openly, but I know it can make people uncomfortable." "I'm not uncomfortable," Emma said honestly. "It's actually refreshing. People usually tiptoe around my chair like it's made of explosives. Lily just sees it as part of me, not the defining thing." Marcus smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. "My wife, Rosa, was killed by a drunk driver too, 3 years ago. She was driving home from her nursing shift at Brigham and Women's. Guy ran a red light on the Mass Pike, hit her driver's side at 70 miles an hour. She died instantly." Emma felt as though she'd been punched in the stomach. "Oh my God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I wouldn't have—" "Hey, it's okay." Marcus held up his hand. "You couldn't have known. And honestly, when Lily told you about her mom, I saw something in your face. Recognition. You understand loss in a way most people our age don't." "How old are you?" Emma asked, then immediately felt embarrassed. "Sorry, that's probably rude to ask." Marcus chuckled. 34. "Rosa and I got married young. I was 25, she was 24. Lily came along a year later. We had plans, you know." buy a house in somewhere like Milton or Quincy, maybe have another kid, grow old together. He shook his head. One drunk driver, and all those plans just vanished. They sat in silence, watching Lily pump her legs on the swing, her laughter carrying across the park. Your dad's the surgeon, right? Marcus said suddenly. Doctor, James Harrison at Mass General. Emma looked at him in surprise. You know him. Of him. I'm a paramedic. We bring patients to Mass General all the time. The neurosurgery residents speak about him like he's a god. Harrison never loses a patient, they say. Harrison can operate on an aneurysm in his sleep. Marcus paused. He didn't remember your birthday, did he? Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. How did you... The look on your face when I mentioned it. And the fact that you were alone in a park, with that badge still on your jacket, like maybe you'd been hoping someone would notice. Marcus's voice was gentle, not pitying. My father was a workaholic too. He was a detective for Boston PD. Missed my high school graduation, missed my wedding, met Lily twice before he had a heart attack at his desk. I understand parents who are married to their jobs. He tries, Emma said quietly. He does, but I think he's disappointed in me. Dear disappointed, why? The words tumbled out before Emma could stop them. Because he fixes people for a living, Marcus. He performs miracles in operating rooms. People come to him paralyzed from brain tumors or aneurysms, and he makes them whole again. But he can't fix me. My spinal cord is severed. There's no surgery, no procedure, no miracle cure. I'm his biggest failure, and he can't stand to look at me because I remind him of his limitations. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Can I tell you something? In my job, I see people at their worst moments. Heart attacks, overdoses, car accidents, assaults. And you know what I've learned? Sometimes the people who survive aren't the ones who get fixed. They're the ones who learn to live with their new reality and find meaning anyway. That sounds like something my therapist would say, Emma said, but there was no bite in her words. Maybe therapists are onto something. Marcus smiled. Look, I don't know your dad, and I'm not going to pretend I understand your relationship, but from where I'm sitting, I see a 17-year-old girl who helped my daughter when she was scared and alone, who speaks with maturity beyond her years, who's navigating one of the hardest things a person can go through. You're not broken, Emma. You're adapting. That takes more strength than any surgery. Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. I hate crying. Crying means you're human. Trust me, I did plenty of it after Rosa died. Still do sometimes, when Lily's asleep and the house is quiet. Marcus pulled out his phone and glanced at the time. Listen, we're about to head to the public garden. Why don't you come with us? The swan boats are accessible, and Lily would be thrilled. Emma hesitated. The old Emma would have made an excuse, would have retreated to the safety of isolation. But something had shifted in the past few minutes. Maybe it was Marcus's honesty, or Lily's unfiltered acceptance, or simply the fact that she was tired of being alone. Okay, she said. Yeah, I'd like that. Lily squealed with delight when they told her and insisted on helping push Emma's wheelchair, even though her efforts mostly involved running alongside and chattering about everything she saw. They made their way down Charles Street, past the boutiques and cafes, toward the public garden. As they walked and rolled, Emma felt something she hadn't experienced in 2 years. Normalcy. Not pity, not awkwardness. Just the simple pleasure of being with people who saw her as a person first. Marcus talked about his work, the crazy calls he'd responded to, the lives saved and the ones lost. He didn't sugarcoat the hard parts of his job, and Emma appreciated his honesty. At the public garden, they boarded one of the iconic swan boats, Emma transferring from her wheelchair with practiced ease while Marcus folded it and stored it on board. Lily sat between them as the boat glided across the lagoon, pointing out ducks and making up stories about the people in other boats. That lady is a princess in disguise, Lily declared, pointing to an elderly woman in a red coat. And that man is a secret spy. Marcus caught Emma's eye and grinned. "She's going to be a writer someday, mark my words." As the autumn sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the water, Emma felt her phone buzz. A text from her father. "Got out of surgery early. Want to grab dinner? Just the two of us?" Emma stared at the message. A week ago, she would have jumped at the chance. But now, sitting on a swan boat with a kind paramedic and his daughter, she felt a clarity she hadn't experienced in months. She typed back, "With friends right now. Maybe tomorrow." Marcus noticed her expression. "Everything okay?" Emma nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think it actually is." November arrived with an early frost, coating Boston in a delicate layer of ice that made the streets treacherous for pedestrians, but beautiful in the morning light. Emma had spent the past 2 weeks meeting Marcus and Lily at the park 3 times a week, their friendship growing in unexpected ways. Marcus had started texting her, not constantly, but enough to make her feel connected to something outside her isolation. Today was different. Today, Marcus had invited her to his apartment in Jamaica Plain for dinner. "My mother wants to meet you," he'd said. "Lily hasn't stopped talking about Emma in the cool chair, and Mama is convinced you're some kind of saint for putting up with her granddaughter's questions." Emma sat in Mrs. Chen's car, anxiety churning in her stomach as they navigated the streets toward Marcus's address. She told her father she was having dinner with a friend, not technically a lie, but not the whole truth either. Dr. Harrison had barely looked up from his medical journals, just nodded and reminded her to text when she needed a ride home. The Martinez apartment was on the 2nd floor of a 3-story building, and Emma's heart sank when she saw the narrow staircase leading up from the street. But Marcus appeared at the door before she could figure out what to say, and her anxiety must have shown on her face. "Don't worry," he said, jogging down the stairs. "There's a ramp entrance around back. The building was renovated last year to be accessible. Come on." He led her around to a side entrance where a smooth ramp led up to the 2nd floor. Inside, the apartment was warm and smelled incredible. Garlic, cilantro, and something savory that made Emma's mouth water. The space was small but homey, with photographs covering every available surface. Emma recognized Rosa in many of them, a beautiful woman with Lily's same dark curls and bright smile. "Emma!" Lily came barreling out of her bedroom, wearing a dress that was clearly meant for a special occasion. "You came. Abuela made pernil and tostones and arroz con gandules, and Lily, let the girl breathe," a warm voice said from the kitchen. A woman in her 60s emerged, wiping her hands on a dish tag. She had Marcus's eyes and a kind face framed by silver-streaked hair. "You must be Emma. I'm Carmen Martinez, but you call me Carmen, or Abuela if you like. Everyone does." Emma felt immediately welcomed by Carmen's embrace, the older woman's strong arms pulling her into a hug that smelled like sofrito and love. "Thank you for having me," Emma said as Carmen released her. "Thank me? You're doing us a favor." "This one," Carmen gestured to Marcus. "He works too much, never meets anyone new. And Lily needs friends of all ages, not just the children at school." "Mama," Marcus said, his ears reddening, "let's not scare Emma away before dinner." The evening unfolded in a way Emma had never experienced. In her own home, dinners were silent affairs, her father eating quickly between checking his phone for hospital updates, Emma pushing food around her plate while Mrs. Chen bustled in and out. But here, the table was loud and chaotic in the best way. Lily talked non-stop about her first-grade class. Carmen told stories about Marcus's childhood in Puerto Rico, and Marcus himself was more relaxed than Emma had ever seen him, laughing and arguing good-naturedly with his mother about the proper way to make mofongo. "So, Emma," Carmen said as she served flan for dessert, "Marcus tells me your father is a big-shot surgeon." "Mama," Marcus warned. "What? I'm just making conversation." Carmen turned her attention back to Emma. "It must be interesting having a father who saves lives." Emma set down her fork carefully. "It is. He's very dedicated to his work." Carmen studied her for a moment, and Emma had the distinct feeling that the older woman saw far more than she was saying. Dedicated is good, but family is important too. My husband, Marcus's father, he worked so hard, 60, 70 hours a week as a mechanic. He wanted to give us everything, but sometimes I wished he'd given us more of his time, you know? Abuela's husband died when Daddy was little, Lily supplied helpfully. Lily, we don't talk about people dying at dinner, Marcus said gently. Why not? Everybody dies eventually. Sister Margaret said so at Sunday school. Despite the heavy topic, Emma found herself smiling. Lily's matter-of-fact attitude toward difficult subjects was oddly comforting. After dinner, while Carmen insisted on cleaning up alone and Lily retreated to her room to play, Marcus and Emma sat in the small living room. Through the window, Emma could see the lights of downtown Boston in the distance. Your family is wonderful, Emma said. Marcus smiled. They're a handful, but they're mine. He hesitated, then said, Can I ask you something personal? You've basically seen me at my worst already, so sure. Have you talked to your dad? Really talked to him, I mean, about how you're feeling? Emma looked away. What's there to talk about? He's busy. I'm broken. End of story. You're not broken, Marcus said firmly, and I think you're underestimating him. Maybe he doesn't know what to say. Maybe he's scared. Scared? My father isn't scared of anything. He operates on people's brains, Marcus. I know scared when I see it, Marcus said quietly. After Rosa died, I was terrified of Lily. This tiny person who depended on me completely, and I had no idea how to raise her alone. I threw myself into work, picked up extra shifts, anything to avoid being home with just her, because what if I screwed it up? What if I failed her? What changed? Emma asked. She did. One night I came home from a shift, and she'd made me a card at school. It said, I miss you, Daddy. She was only 4. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I realized that by trying to avoid failing her, I was already failing her, so I cut back my hours, asked my mom to move in to help, and I learned to be present, even when it was hard, even when I felt inadequate. Emma felt tears threatening again. My dad looks at me, and all he sees is his failure. I know he does. Or maybe he looks at you and sees the daughter he can't fix, and it breaks his heart. Maybe he doesn't know how to be your father if he can't also be your doctor. Marcus leaned forward. I'm not saying what he's doing is right. You deserved better than a forgotten birthday and expensive gifts as apologies. But people are complicated, Emma. Sometimes the people who save lives in hospitals don't know how to save the lives in their own homes. Before Emma could respond, Lily burst into the room. Emma, do you want to see my room? I have glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Emma laughed through her tears. Sure, let's see these stars. Lily's room was an explosion of pink and purple, with drawings covering the walls and toys scattered across the floor. But what caught Emma's attention was a photograph on the nightstand. Rosa, young and smiling, holding a newborn Lily. That's my mommy, Lily said, following Emma's gaze. Daddy says she was brave and kind and smart, like you. Emma's breath caught. Like me? Daddy said you're brave because even though you got hurt really bad, you still smile and help people and go to the park. He said that's what Mommy would have done too. Emma glanced at the doorway, where Marcus stood watching them, his expression soft. Later, as Mrs. Chen drove Emma home, she felt her phone buzz. A text from Marcus. Thank you for tonight. Lily's already asking when you can come back. So is Mama. So am I. Emma stared at the message, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. She typed back, any time. Your family makes me feel seen. The response came quickly. Because you are seen. All of you, not just the chair. When Emma arrived home, she found her father in his study as usual, surrounded by medical journals and patient files. She paused in the doorway, seeing him as if for the first time in months. His hair had more grey than she remembered. There were deep lines around his eyes. He looked tired, lonely. Dad? Dr. Harrison looked up, surprised. "Em, did you have a good dinner?" "Yeah. It was nice." She wheeled closer. "Dad, can we talk? Really talk?" Something shifted in his expression. Fear, maybe, or hope. "Of course, come in." Emma positioned herself across from his desk, her heart pounding. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen, okay?" Her father nodded slowly, setting down his pen. "I know you're disappointed in me." "Emma, no. Please, let me finish." Emma took a deep breath. "I know you can't fix me. I know every time you look at me you see a failure. But Dad, I need you to see me. Not the patient you couldn't save, not the broken spinal cord, not the wheelchair. Me, Emma, your daughter." Dr. Harrison's face crumbled. Emma had never seen her father cry, but now tears were streaming down his face. "Oh, Emma. Oh, sweetheart. I'm not disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in myself." "What?" "I spend every day in that hospital saving lives, fixing things that seem unfixable. And I come home to you, and I can't fix the one thing that matters most." He stood and moved around the desk, kneeling beside her wheelchair. "I failed you. I let you down in the worst possible way, and I don't know how to make it right. You didn't fail me by not being able to fix my spine, Dad. You failed me by not being here, by forgetting my birthday, by treating me like a problem to be solved instead of a daughter who needed her father." Dr. Harrison took her hand, his grip tight. "You're right. God, you're absolutely right. I've been a coward, Emma. I threw myself into work because I didn't know how to face you, how to face what happened. I thought maybe if I saved enough other people, it would somehow make up for not saving you. I don't need you to save me, Dad. I need you to be with me." They sat there in the study, father and daughter, crying and finally talking. Dr. Harrison told her about his guilt, his fear, his own grief over the life Emma had lost. Emma told him about her loneliness, her anger, her desperate need to feel like she still mattered to him. "I met some people," Emma said eventually. "A paramedic named Marcus and his daughter Lily. They lost Lily's mom to a drunk driver 3 years ago." Dr. Harrison listened as Emma told him about the park, the swan boats, the dinner with Carmen and Lily, about how Marcus had shown her that life could still have meaning, even after devastating loss. "I'd like to meet them," Dr. Harrison said. "If that's okay with you." Emma smiled. "I'd like that too." Over the following weeks, life began to shift. Dr. Harrison cut back his hours, started coming home for dinner, and made a point of being present. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward silences, still moments when the weight of the past 2 years felt too heavy. But they were trying. Marcus and Lily became regular fixtures in Emma's life. Sometimes they'd all meet at the park, and Dr. Harrison would talk shop with Marcus about emergency medicine while Lily dragged Emma to see the ducks. Other times they'd have dinner at the Martinez apartment, Carmen stuffing them all with food while telling stories about Puerto Rico. One evening in mid-November, as they sat around Carmen's table, Lily announced, "I think Emma should come to Thanksgiving with us." "Lily," Marcus started, but Emma interrupted. "I'd love to, but I should probably spend it with my dad. It'll be our first real holiday together in a while." "So bring him," Lily said, as if it were the most obvious solution in the world. Marcus and Emma exchanged glances. "What do you think?" Marcus asked. "Carmen makes enough food to feed an army anyway. One more won't hurt." When Emma texted her father the invitation, his response surprised her. "I'd be honored. Should I bring anything?" On Thanksgiving, Dr. James Harrison arrived at the Martinez apartment, carrying an expensive bottle of wine, and looking more nervous than Emma had ever seen him. But Carmen enveloped him in a hug. Lily immediately began asking him questions about surgeries, and within an hour he was laughing at Carmen's stories and helping Marcus set the table. As Emma watched her father, really watched him, she saw not the distant surgeon, but a man trying to find his way back to his daughter. It wasn't perfect. It would take time. But they were finally moving in the right direction. Later, as they all sat around the table, Carmen asked everyone to share what they were grateful for. Lily said her daddy and her abuela. Carmen said her family, including new friends who feel like family. Marcus looked at Emma and said, "Second chances, for all of us." When it was Emma's turn, she looked around the table, at Lily's bright smile, at Carmen's warm eyes, at Marcus's steady presence, at her father's hopeful expression. "I'm grateful for birthdays in the park," she said. "For the people who see you when you feel invisible, for families that welcome you in, and for dads who learn to come home." Dr. Harrison reached over and squeezed her hand. "I'm grateful for daughters who forgive their fathers," he said quietly. "And for second chances I don't deserve but will spend every day earning." As the evening wore on, filled with laughter and food and the comfortable chaos of people who cared about each other, Emma realized something profound. She'd spent 2 years believing her life had ended that night on Commonwealth Avenue. But sitting here, surrounded by this unexpected patchwork family, she understood that it hadn't ended. It had just taken an unexpected turn. Sometimes the people who change your life aren't the ones who fix you. They're the ones who remind you that you were never broken in the first place. Outside, the first snow of the season began to fall, coating Boston in white. Inside, in a warm apartment in Jamaica Plain, a surgeon learned to be a father again, a paramedic found friendship in unexpected places, and a girl in a wheelchair discovered that being seen, truly seen, was the greatest gift of all.